Hello, welcome everybody. Welcome back to this, that is our fifth webinar done by the 5G Carmen project. The project is almost close to the end. Today, we want to give a brief overview of all that has been done by the project, and then we will really focus on the role that the small medium enterprise had in our project. So uh, there will be me providing this introduction to the main topics and objective of the project, and I am Roberto Fantini from TIM, the telecom mobile operator in Italy. But today I will be here also with two of my colleagues from the project. Maurizio will provide you with his knowledge about the different funding opportunities that European project like 5G Carmen can offer to small medium enterprises. And Orestes from Excellence will share his experience as one of the small medium enterprise partners of the project itself. So I hope that having reached the fifth webinar, you are now somehow familiar with our project. 5G Carmen is one of the European Horizon 2020 funded project. It's a pretty large project involving 25 different partners from 10 European countries. The project started in November 2018. It was originally thought to last for 26 months, but due to the COVID issues, we had to extend the project, and so it will close at the end of this month, at the end of July. So we are really running the last mile here. The focus of the project is to show the benefit of 5G and how 5G can help automated driving use cases in a real world condition. Really, what we have to show is to show use cases that are run on pilots on the actual highways on our road, and in particular in the very important Bologna to Munich corridor, a highway that stretch through Italy, Austria, and Germany, connecting two of the most important industrial poles in Europe. Really, the focus was not only showing that 5G it's a very important enabler for autonomous driving, but also show that it can work also in the very challenging scenario of crossing countries and national borders. As you probably know, when you change a country, you usually have to switch from one network operator to another. That takes some time. And also the quality of services when you are in roaming, it's not the same that you have in your national borders. So here the focus was to show that also with this very challenging from a network point of view conditions, the system, thanks to the advance offered by 5G, can work and can push autonomous driving up to level 4. We have different partners involved in the project. Obviously, mobile operators like TIM, Magenta, Deutsche Telekom. We have car manufacturers, Stellantis, BMW. We have telecommunication vendors of equipment like Nokia, Qualcomm, NEC, to name a few. But we also have a lot of, we have a research center like FBK or University of Valencia and so on. But we also have different small medium enterprises to be able to analyze the very challenging use case that we had in mind. We needed the help of companies with very different expertise, and we found that also on some small medium enterprises that provided some key elements to the project. You might have heard about us in the past. It's almost 3 years and a half that we do this kind of presentation. Originally, you may have heard us speaking about these 4 use cases. These were the candidate use case from the pilots. Then we had basically one use case about cooperative maneuvering, showing how 5G can assist in this kind of maneuvers. We had one use case about situation awareness, using 5G to extend the perception of vehicles, of the surrounding of vehicles. We had a use case dedicated to infotainment, and in particular in improving video streamings also when crossing the border, and one dedicated to green driving. So you showing how 5G can be used to collect information from vehicles and the environment to get suggestion on more sustainable driving behaviors. All these use cases have been studied at the beginning of the project. Some of them have been already detailed in the early phase, like green driving. But then in the final part of the project, the 5G Commission asked us to focus on those that were more challenging from the 5G point of view. And so we selected the first two and we merged them in two new scenarios where cooperative maneuvering and situational awareness work together to support cooperative driving. These new use cases that have been obtained, we have differentiated them in cooperative and automated lane change maneuver and cooperative and automated in-lane maneuver. So we have differentiated them on the type of maneuvers that we needed to do. In a cooperative lane and automated lane change maneuver, we have shown that exploiting vehicle-to-vehicle and vehicle-to-network communication and using the knowledge that can be gained of the environment through the 5G network, it is possible to help cars doing challenging maneuvers like lane change. Here we see, for example, the red car that needs to enter the other lane. And so through the communication offered by 5G technologies and V2V technologies, it can coordinate its maneuver with the other vehicle. So asking, for example, the blue vehicle in the back to slow down and the blue vehicle that is ahead to speed up so that they can create a gap and so that the red car can safely change lane and merge the lane that is occupied by the other vehicles. In-lane maneuvers, here the idea is a little bit different. The idea is that we aimed to be able to keep level 4 automation, so being able to have the car that it drives itself also in unpredictable situation, like the presence of a queue that cannot be detected directly by the vehicle itself, but that can be detected by other connected vehicles, so that the red car can be informed in advance that, for example, there's a queue in the exit lane, and it can abort the exiting the maneuver to exit the lane, and it will keep its lane because there is a queue there. Or, for example, maybe the red car wants to overtake and change lane, but maybe there's a emergency vehicle coming from behind, and so through the 5G network, the emergency vehicle can inform all the vehicle that it needs a free lane to pass, and so that all cars will keep their lane and will not occupy the overtake lane. This use case needed some technological enablers to be demonstrated. Obviously, we needed to have 5G deployments. Those have been provided particularly at the border from Italy and Austria and Germany by network operator. But to be able to support these scenarios in cross-border, we needed also to deploy some advanced features that 5G enables to really reduce the gap in communication when you change a network operator, and to reduce latency also when you're in roaming. Latency is a very important KPIs for autonomous driving use cases. And in order to keep latency low, we have deployed the service on the 5G network exploiting edge computing platforms. These are basically servers that are deployed in such a way that they are close from a logical point of view to the service on the highway. This computing platform have been deployed in Italy, in Austria, and Germany, and to support service continuity, we needed to connect them and deploy also an orchestration platform that handles the service continuity and that moves the service context from Italy to Austria, where, for example, when you change country. This was also probably really the playground for our small medium enterprises, because on this edge platform we have hosted services and functionalities, for example, about security, that have been deployed by all the different partners of the project, including in particular small medium enterprises. Beside that, we needed also some additional technologies for like message brokering. It's a technique that allows to send messages to car in a georeferenced way, so that only cars that are really interested, that are physically in a position where the message is important, get informed of what is going on. We needed precise positioning. It's a technique that allows to use 5G network to send correction information that enables to improve the quality of GPS localization. And with that, we have shown that we are able to reach a positioning precision of less than 20 centimeter. And we had predictive QoS, that is a feature that allows to predict network condition in advance, so that services can be adapted to respond, for example, to network congestions or lack of coverage in certain areas. All of this has been deployed and put in place. And we started trialing in the first phase inside the country borders, so in Italy and in Germany, close to Trento and close to Munich, respectively. But then we moved to the cross-border. That was really the target of our project, in particularly in Brennero between Italy and Austria, and in Kufstein between Austria and Germany. And we have deployed everything that was needed to set up the use cases, completed all the integration and functional tests of all the functionality that are needed by the use cases. And then, since we are basically at the end of the project, we were able to demonstrate our use cases. We have done some demonstration, and we are now basically closing the project by collecting KPIs and evaluating the use cases at the border. Everything will be collected and reported in the final deliverables that are due by the end of this month. The demonstration, by the way, has been also done in public. We've done an event at the end of June, on the 22nd of June, showing the use case on the live network using the highway at the borders. And it received a very good coverage by media. We are really pleased with the result. Everything went smoothly, and we were really able to show that the use case can be run in a real environment with commercial networks, by the way. So not using prototypes, for the network part, but using the commercial network that the network operator provided. And obviously then prototypes for the services that are on the Mac. So I hope I got your interest, and if you want to know more about our project, you can follow us on our social medias. We have Twitter, LinkedIn. We have a website where we collect everything, and that we are now populating with all the last results. So please take your time to go there. You can also subscribe to our newsletter. There will be a final one that will be sent after the summer to summarize all that we've done. So please don't be shy, join us. It will be good to hear from you. And with that said, as I said, we've had a big role was played by small medium enterprises, and this is true in general for all European projects. There are a lot of funding opportunities for small medium enterprise. So I leave here the floor to Maurizio Cecchi that can give you some hints on how to access these funds.
Okay, thanks a lot, Roberto, for introduction. Hello to everybody. My name is Maurizio Cecchi. I work in a research institute that is devoted to technology transfer. So how to exploit at best results from innovation and research project with a specific focus on SMEs. So I will go in this short presentation, and as said by Roberto, just to give a very short overview of the research programs of the European Commission. Please, next slide. And as you know, we are in the heart of the 7-year program that is called Horizon Europe. So it is the part of the European funding devoted to research, where SMEs can go directly to request for funding. Then I will go a little deeper in the specific program for smart network and services that is very close to the one where 5G Carmen belongs. So for that is now promoting and funding similar initiative, and then going in a few practical suggestions really on how to get in this kind of arena. Please, next slide. Of course, this is, we start with Horizon Europe. Please, next slide. And Horizon Europe is a very complex animal, has different parts, but we don't have, of course, time to explain any part. Mainly, there are 3 pillars. One devoted to open science, but this is more for academics or public research part. There is a pillar 3 on innovation on the ground, but now we will focus in pillar 2, that is the one devoted to digital industries, I'll say industries in general, where there is a specific part that we saw, I would say, the largest part for digital technologies. Of course, in parallel, there are other programs on energy, climate, food, but of course now we focus on the digital part, digital programs for industrial competitiveness in Europe. Please, next slide. The amount of funding is huge. Of course, here we are talking about 7 years and 28 countries, but as you see, on the overall budget of 100 billion euros, the part that we are tackling, we are talking about the global challenge and the industrial competitiveness, takes a little more than half. So there is a huge amount of resource there. Of course, it's difficult to get them. Let's see how we can help you on this. Please, next slide. So we go now in something that is more close to the environment of 5G Carmen or similar project. Here, there is a specific smart network and service program that belongs to Horizon Europe, where the Commission is putting a lot of funds on different kinds of initiative. The first one is more an evolution of 5G toward the future. So on the development of 6G, so something very close to the continuation of 5G Carmen. Then there is a second line called Stream B that is really revolutionary. Perhaps this is a little more on for a pure research center because the Commission is asking for radical technology advancement. And of course, here, I guess that only SMEs coming from university as spin-off may be interested. Here, really, there is the part of the program devoted to long-term vision, radical innovation. Then the third stream is Stream C, that is how the different industries and institutes in Europe can offer experimental infrastructure. Of course, for instance, also 5G Carmen was an experimental infrastructure that, of course, that can be used by any kind of initiative, other project in the program of people interested from outside. But then I would like to focus more on the fourth one because it's a part on large-scale trials and pilots, like 5G Carmen. Here, the aim is to explore and demonstrate technologies in real world. And here, of course, use cases are the most important. And usually the very best people, that can offer innovative use case, new idea, creative ideas are small and medium enterprises. Please, next slide. Here you can see just how is the dimension of this program. For instance, in the first call that was launched with a deadline of last April, there were 240 million euros, so just only for one call of tender. Here you can see, how much was a distribution of money in these different categories, because we are talking about the Stream D, so the initiative for use cases and field trials. For instance, in the very first beginning, there were 50 millions. That is usually around what the Commission is putting for this kind of project. It is very likely that next April, there will be a second call, and this part for field trials will be expanded. So you can see that the amount of money is large. In this case, as 5G Carmen, because you have to go in different countries, doing a lot of cooperation and collaboration among university, industry, small and medium enterprise. Usually the consortium, so the group that is presenting the project, is very large, around 20-25 partners. So at the end, every time you can expect from 3 to 5 large projects funded by each call. Please, next slide. So what this stream, so this part of the program is asking, so is the aim, of course, is to demonstrate both the technological part and the business validation, because, of course, we don't develop the technology only for the sake of saying we are nice, they are nice and interesting, but of course they should have an impact on the market, so in terms of business. So this project should demonstrate also the business value. Then, of course, this kind of large consortium are created to foster close collaboration between ICT, let's say, technology provider, but application owner, users. So in this term is interesting both for SMEs that offer specific technologies, but are also interesting for small enterprises that simply would like to sell their application and put in test a new innovative idea. So, of course, these projects are part of the large Smart Network and Service program, so can rely on the platform. We mentioned, for instance, the technology platform of Stream C on other facilities. So if you enter in this kind of project, you can rely to a lot of facilities and infrastructure already available. Then, of course, you have to explore and demonstrate technology device and your application. And, of course, in terms of leadership of Europe, of course, in this kind of program, because our research program, you have to show that it's something that is useful for the technological leadership of Europe. And in a very explicit way, SMEs are expected to play a key role in this process. This is specifically written in the call, but is implicit in the kind of work you're doing, because innovative application usually are coming from them. Please, the next slide. So, for SMEs, of course, they can demonstrate their validation, foster collaboration, and so on. Please, next slide. Sorry, next slide. And so how can be done? Of course, you have to be successful here. Have in mind that you should propose new ideas, not something that is on the market, something that is new, that is interesting for, let's say, short future. Here we are not talking about visionary technology for 10 years. Here we are talking something that in 2-3 years can become a value for the market. Then, of course, we are talking about smart networks. As you know, 5G, started his deployment, not fully. Some specificity of the 5G should be also put on the market in a very short term. A lot of people are talking already 6G, but in essence, you have to propose use case and application where network performance is essential. Of course, here we are talking about 5G, 6G, smart networks. So the network performance is essential. So how to do? As you know, the Commission is very transparent, so it's very easy to find previous successful project like 5G Carmen and many other. There is a specific platform named Cordis. Here is the link where you go. And here is very, very detailed. So if, for instance, you are interested in autonomous driving, you go there and you see all the previous projects, successful project on autonomous driving, so using 5G or network advancement for autonomous driving. You will find not only 5G Carmen, but others. There are at the present 6 large projects on 5G for autonomous driving. So you can go there and find who are the people, who are the proposer, so you can send to them your ideas trying to enter in the future initiative. And then, of course, you have to be aware of where are the opportunities, so where are the most appropriate call. Also here, the Commission is very transparent. Here is the link, and of course you can click directly there, and you can find divided by category, types, kind of interest of anybody, all the call. As I mentioned before, is very, very likely for the new launch of new project. This will be done next April. Now, in this time frame, there is the evaluation process of what has been sent on last April. The Commission will, of course, select the best one. But in next April, there will be a second part. And of course, my suggestion is to go and see the statistic of previous call. Also here, these figures are published, so you can see where you can be more successful. For instance, in certain cases, you can see there is a huge amount of competing proposals, so perhaps it's not worth to go there. But in the other part, like, for instance, the Stream D, there are not so many proposals ongoing, so a good new idea may be successful. Please, the next slide. Then there is something that is a little less known by people around, that we are talking before about the public call of the Commission, how it's structured, but then inside each project, in many cases, especially for large projects, there are project open call. So it doesn't mean that the project, so future project like 5G Carmen, publish open call, have a certain amount of money that we'll see later, and so that you can go directly to the people of the project to propose a call. So you're sure that the project is already selected because it's running, the money is there. You have simply to convince through these open procedures that your idea is good. And it's much easier in this case because it's not a generic participation of a large consortium. In this call, there is a request of something very specific, for instance, innovative use case. And so you have to go there, propose it, and do it. No need to have co-statement, administrative process, legal process. Simply do the work, and it's much faster. Usually in this type of activity, it lasts only less than 1 year, that compared to the 3 years that we were talking before, like or 3.5, like 5G Carmen, is much easier and usable by the SMEs. Please, next slide. This is the usual, let's say, process. There is a submission period of around 60 days. Some time for evaluation. The maximum is 5, but usually in 2 months this is done. And then there is the process that is very similar to the normal European project process. Please, next slide. So, what does it mean in terms of money? For instance, in the call that I mentioned before, that will launch in April, there are around 24 million euros for this kind of open call from 6 initiatives, the successful initiative. So 5 million euros coming from the 3 projects dealing with a testing platform, but even there you can propose use case. But around 20 millions coming from the project of StreamD, the one where I focused before, from large field trials. So what does it mean? That is around 80 new use cases that will be accepted. And the amount for this 1 year work is 250,000 euros. That is not bad, in a very easy way. So lump sum, no cost statement, no administrative burden. So because it's not so easy in Europe to find for each call 80 new interesting use cases, for sure you have to work there. Please, next slide. These are the links that you can go for all this kind of information. So on mission, strategic roadmaps, budget, all these are hyperlinks, so you can go there. Key documents, the description of the work program that I mentioned before, all the information about funding and tender opportunities. Then, as you know, there are national contact points for each country where you can go for questions, and of course, frequently asked questions. Please, next slide. These are the link for the Smart Network and Service program. So the brokerage platform for newcomers is this. So here, usually is not very rich. You can go there and launch some ideas. My personal feeling that not many people are using this platform, but you can try. Is where proposer, people interested can go there. And and of course you may start collaboration, but as I said before, it's much better if you go on the previous successful project and propose the idea of people that were successful before. Next slide. That of course is the ending one. So then I will be, of course, ready for answer. Thank you for the attention, and I leave back the floor to the studio.
Thank you, Maurizio. Thanks a lot for this insightful presentation. We can now leave the floor to Orestes. Orestes is one of our colleagues in the European project. Orestes Mavopoulos, he works in excellence. And he will share a little bit his experience inside the project and inside the small medium enterprise. Thank you, Orestes.
Hi everyone, thank you, Roberto. I'm going to talk a little bit about our experience as an SME, cybersecurity SME, in acquiring funding and then moving forward to getting more business opportunities and how we leverage our existing participation in EU research projects. Thank you. Let's go to the next slide. Thank you. Now, the agenda structure, I will speak a little bit about the company, our role in 5G Carmen, and then we're going to have a discussion about the business benefits of participating in research and innovation projects, some challenges that you face as a cybersecurity SME in reaching the market, and some tips and insights on how you can maximize your business impact from research projects. And then we will have a Q&A session. Now, excellence was actually driven by a research-based company. So we started from academia. Most of our experts in cyberlens have an academic background. A lot of them have an academic and an industrial background. And the company was founded in 2015. Our portfolio is around vulnerability assessment, cybersecurity detection and classification of threats, and threat response and recovery. Now, what we have here is the journey of the company, and I think it's pretty important to give you an idea about the time frame of cybersecurity SME. So when we founded the company in London in 2015, it was almost 2 years until we managed to get our first funding from European Horizon project. After a few years, we opened another office in the Netherlands, and we actually published our open source solution in 2017. And around 2020, we started with our cybersecurity solution. We tried to ready it for the market. And now in 2022, we are the company as Excellence, and this is our trade name. Can we go to the next slide? Now, we have it's very important when you are a cybersecurity SME to have a clear mission that it's quite simple and clear to either partners or stakeholders that you try to approach. And at Cyberlens, we aim to have innovative and simple solutions that are focused around the cybersecurity and privacy. And a lot of this expertise came from our participations in EU projects. Next slide, please. Now we have different areas of specialization. A big part of our portfolio is around telecommunications and energy applications. We also have some expertise in automotive, and we are also participating in several projects providing cybersecurity solution in healthcare. So we have a pretty diverse area of expertise that covers different industrial and research domains. Next slide, please. Now in Excellence, we also provide a solution which is called Retina, and it's our service and product. It's a cyber-physical cybersecurity tool which is aimed to protect the industrial applications. And the aim of this tool is to maximize production uptime of industrial application, and then ensure that there is business continuity. So the idea of this tool is to make it simple to use, but also detect threats that evade existing cybersecurity tools, which is a major selling point for our tool. And it notifies when the production is disturbed by cyber-related incidents. Next slide, please. Now, in 5G Carmen, we are participating as a technology provider, and we lead tasks and activities related to cybersecurity. Now, the main contributions in the projects are around cybersecurity analysis and threat assessment, and we also provide several software applications that ensure the secure operations of 5G assets in the project. Next slide. Now let's talk a little bit about what it is, how it feels like to be an SME and trying to establish yourself in the market. And this is a pretty similar roadmap, I think, that several SMEs will try to follow. So the first point is you identify market need or a gap. Based on that, you try to secure funding. Then you try to develop a cybersecurity service to cover that market need. The next step is to actually secure more funding to make your solution better. And then you have to go to market, and hopefully you reach to the point of getting some profit. Now, today in the talk, we're going to focus on the market aspects. Now, what are some of the benefits of participating in research and innovation projects? A major benefit is that you can subsidize your development costs. So you can get funding from research innovation costs, and you can use those money to cover a lot of the development costs. You can also cover equipment and license, software licenses, and several other things that you need to develop your service. Another major benefit is that you gain a very big exposure to several industries, academia, and also how research applications grow and move forward and then mature. Essentially, it increases your engagement with the industry and the public. And this is a major benefit because as an SME, when you start your company and your journey, it's very difficult to approach big industrial partners and try to work with them to develop several solutions. But with a research innovation project, this is something that is part of the project. So you can get in touch with them. You have several work packages that you collaborate with them to develop solution. And it's also a very safe place in order to have open discussions about what their needs are and how you can better leverage those needs to improve your products and services. And this leads us to our next point, that through those contacts and through that exposure, you can refine a lot about what your specific market niche is and how you can move your product or service to a direction that will cover the needs of the market. Another important benefit is that you can also gain very valid references and a lot of industrial experience, and this is critical in order to reach the market, because if you have developed a solution, a lot of people, when you try to sell that product to them or you try to come into a collaboration, they will ask, has this been applied in a real life situation? Who did you work with to develop the solution? And through research and innovation project, this is something that you can really answer. And a lot of those research products give you a very good and solid base that you can approach people that you want to collaborate with or stakeholders that you need to further like your product or service. Next slide. However, there are some challenges, especially if you are a newly founded SME, on reaching the market. And the main one is how you differentiate yourself from the competition. Now, for example, cybersecurity as a domain is very broad. It has a lot of application and a lot of different niches, let's say. But it's also dominated by big players. So if you develop a solution and you try to penetrate the market, a lot of people will ask you, why shouldn't I use your solution, which I don't really know how well it goes, and I don't use a solution by Microsoft or from Cloudflare, any of the big hitters out there. And usually the thing is that with cybersecurity, there is a very deep need for customizable services in almost any application domain, because those big players usually have very broad solutions, but they don't perfectly fit the requirements or the needs of several stakeholders. And this is a very nice way for an SME to get a very nice, let's say, foothold in the market. And this is very nice because as an SME, you are usually more flexible and to address bespoke and specific needs that a client may have. And one of the issues that you have, especially in the beginning, is that you don't have a very clear narrative of your product or service. So it's very difficult to approach someone and tell him that he should use your product, especially because you are very new and you haven't really worked out all the bugs yet. And this is another main challenge that you have when you first start. Another issue, usually when you have several projects that you're working on, research projects, is that the research objectives that for those particular projects may not completely align with the needs of the market. But you can also turn this thing into a strength, because a lot of the research objectives are refined during the project's life cycle. So in the beginning, when the project started like 3 years ago, the research objectives were from one specific version, but as the project evolves, those change then can be refined. And if you have identified several needs from the market, this is actually an excellent justification on why you should change the research objective. So you can actually turn this thing into a strength. Now, another issue is that several of the R&D projects, as mentioned before from Mauricio, have a long life cycle, and sometimes they might get delayed, or some of the activities may be pushed towards the end. And that may stress internal resources when you are SME, because you have a limited amount of people and person months that you can deploy to that project. And this is something that will affect the timing of you reaching the market. Next slide. Now, some of the tips to help you maximize the impact, especially from R&D project, is that you can use the dissemination activities that are part of the project to gain insights from the market. And you can also present your research outcome in a very safe environment. And the feedback you get is very helpful into refining your mission, your narrative, maybe the stakeholders that you try to approach. And essentially, it's a way to get feedback that you can improve not only your market activities, but also your company branding, the narrative, how you structure all your social media presence. And this is very helpful to do when you are trying to establish an SME. And another major benefit is that because from all those R&D projects you get exposure from the industry, you can also try to turn this, let's say, research partnerships into business partnerships with the partners that you've participated in all the research consortia. And another important thing is that you can also analyze the competition or the future partnerships that you might face, because a lot of those research consortia, after a while, you get in touch with a lot of the players that are in the same domain. So it's very easy to exchange expertise, discuss several, let's say, services and how you try to reach your market. And it's a very nice and beneficial environment to be an SME in. Next slide. Thank you. That was the end of my presentation, so thank you. If you want to find out more about the company, and the first link is our website. And if you want to get in touch, I have a list of emails with all the people involved in the company. Now, thank you for your time, and I think we're ready to take some questions from the audience.
Thanks a lot, Orestes. It was really interesting. Thanks for sharing your expertise, your view. As we have seen, it's obviously this kind of funding is a very big opportunity, not only for the funding themselves, but really for the kind of context and when you get the opportunity to be in, and for the kind of input that you can receive from this kind of experience. And I really appreciate the tips that you have given, because yes, it's a very big opportunity, but it's important to have this kind of feedback to help other SMEs to really get the most out of this kind of opportunity. So I don't think we have any comments or question coming now from our socials. Anyway, this webinar has been recorded and will be left available in our social platform for the future. So if someone views this, not now, but maybe in the future, don't be worried to ask questions, put comments. We have also left all our contacts here, so we will be glad to keep in touch and receive questions and answer them also in the future. Then thanks a lot for your time. Thanks Maurizio, Orestes, for your presentation. I think that's all from today, and
thank you to you, Roberto.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye everyone. Thank you for your time.